The Luchador that I didn't want to do. Welcome into the Loochador Podcast, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Enter for your chance to win $10,000 gift card from Academy plus SEC Championship game tickets just by signing into the Academy app. The ultimate SEC football sweepstakes runs through October the 8th through November 18th. No purchase is necessary. Odd depends on entries received. Ends on November the 18th, 2023. Please find all the complete rules at academy.com/official rules. So, Billy, what I meant by I didn't want to do another here we are piece. We lost again. Here's the why. That's what I mean. I love doing these therapy sessions for people and then for us as well.
I don't think there's much therapy that can be done right here, do you?
No, I think people do like when we just talk it out, the good and the bad. There is no real good. Please, when I say, I mean, can we pull out some good? Of course, Noah Thomas, defense played strong. But the feeling sucks.
Yeah, no, you talk about a day. I went from what? It got up, obviously didn't go enjoy Knoxville last night after that one. It was hard enough just to get food over there. Everything, that was a good trip, everything about it. But, you spend a lot of time and money, and you understand people when you fly back. We do this, you guys do it. Every road, y'all go as a group, and then I go separate. And we all do the same thing as all the fans. You spend money on the trip, and then you go and have to walk out of that stadium, amidst. And the Tennessee fans were great. I think there's like a couple of the students were,
I expect that.
That's A&M. That's everywhere in the SEC, and it is what it is. And most of it's pretty hilarious, actually. I thought their fans, the town people were great. Really, I hadn't heard things about Tennessee fans being nice and welcoming or whatever, but that's all we saw.
Yeah.
Everywhere we went, they were great. So, but you walk out of that stadium after all that commitment level, you walk out and you lose. And it's not, you're going to lose some in this league. Everyone is, except Georgia. Except Alabama and except LSU in 2019. And, it doesn't always have to be that way, but you're going to lose, when you go on the road in this league, it's going to happen. You go play enough games, you lose. But you don't lose if you're a program like A&M, 8 in a row in a conference on the road, like 2 years worth of conference road games in a row.
3 university presidents.
So you go take these trips, and every single time you walk out of there like that. And then so today, you get up at 6:15 in the morning, you're on the road at 7 to the airport, you go eat in a Knoxville Waffle House, and shout out to the best waitress I've ever had. She was awesome at 6 a.m. on a Sunday at Waffle House. Then you fly to Atlanta and you lay over. Then you fly to Dallas and then drive back and come straight in here to do this show. So I've had a day too, but there's a ton of people that have done similar to that this weekend, and I saw a bunch of them at the airport, and it's the same thing. Like, talk me off the ledge. And this was one of those weekends where you just go, wish I could, but I can't. It's, you watch that game yesterday, and you look at it, and you just go, Tennessee is not that good. And that if you were just a competent team yesterday, you win in front of 100,000 on the road.
But that's just
they're just.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Philly, but yes, everything you're saying is spot on. If you're a competent team yesterday and the week prior, and the week, and
that's what I'm getting at. And they're becoming. Here's the problem. It's what I was talking about Friday, and people have been making comments about. I'll tell you this right now. What did I say? I was like, A&M can make mistakes and win, because Tennessee's going to make mistakes. Mm-hmm. They said they can't go out and just completely shoot themselves in the foot with these massive catastrophic mistakes. An okay game and some mistakes, and you beat Tennessee because they drop a touchdown pass, and because they throw a red zone interception, and because they miss a field goal, and because they don't convert on key fourth downs. The teams you're playing are not that good. And you saw it again with Bama Saturday against Arkansas. So you could have beaten Bama with mistakes. You can't beat them by not blocking anyone in the second half. You can't beat them by getting a field goal blocked in the second half. You can't beat them by getting a turnover inside the 30 and getting no points out of it in the second half. You can't miss a wide open touchdown. You can't go in Saturday and let what happened on that special teams exchange happen. You can't not be able to get off your 1 yard line. And that's a player and coach thing. You got to call the plays to get you off of it. And then the guys have to execute it. And it was like nothing. Just couldn't even, nothing. Bad throw, punt, bad punt. They're just playing bad football. But it's just enough that you're able to watch the game and realize how easy it could have been to win those games. And that's almost more frustrating. Yep. It's almost more demoralizing and disheartening because you're not sitting there going, oh, man, we're really good, we're really in it. But you look back and you go, this is Bama and Tennessee in front of 100,000. And how bad did we have to play, especially Saturday, to lose that football game? Against Bama, I still think it's a little bit different. But yesterday, I thought that performance was a major, major step back as a football team than what we saw a week ago here.
They're losing close games this year, last year, the year prior, close games. And Nick Saban, by the way, yes, the GOAT, wins those close games.
Yeah.
And he did it last week, and he did it this week with Arkansas.
And the thing is, leave Nick Saban and Alabama out of it, right? And you can just say, look at LSU last year and what they did in close games. I mean, teams in this conference, so many of these games are going to be close. So it's the teams that do it. It's just like I'm saying, there are very flawed teams in the SEC this year. We saw it in the non-conference portion of the schedule. Nuño, that to me makes it more frustrating because you saw LSU, a team that A&M pounded at Kyle Field last year, but they won a bunch of close games, and the opportunity was there, and in year one, Brian Kelly wins the West. This year, you've watched Alabama enough, and Texas went in there in year 3 under Sark and beat them. They're vulnerable, and they came into your house, and they had a real quarterback issue, and then he lights it up. I was saying what I called him last week, Randall Cunningham, the way he was throwing those deep balls, and you look up and it's you've missed an opportunity again these 2 years. So we'll go into everything, but in hindsight, you look back on Sumlin's tenure and you go, well, what happened? And you felt weird about it when it happened. And you go fast forward and you go back and you say, okay, what ultimately got Sumlin, was the UCLA, but I think it was the year prior, you're number 4 in the playoff, and you go to an unranked Mississippi State that went 5-7 that year and you lose. And then you come home and Ole Miss has to start a true freshman that's never played a game. And you lose that one at home over a bad Ole Miss team. That was kind of, they didn't come back from that. Okay, Mike Sherman, it was, people say Texas, and that certainly, but you go back a couple weeks earlier and they're playing a bad K-State team on the road, and you throw it, look like you have a 2-point conversion, and Jeff Fuller's in the end zone, wide open, game over, walk-off 2-point conversion. He just drops it back at the end zone, and then you end up losing to them. Those close games that they had, you can point to that and say, man, they were blowing those second-half leads, but they beat K-State and Texas there. He's coaching on into the SEC. That's a no question about it thing. You hope it's not, but you look at these 2 games these last 2 weeks, and I'm sitting here going, man, what an opportunity lost where you can forget Miami, who lost again last night, but forget Miami. again, that was game 2 on the road. I think, you're like, damn. But you look at these last 2 games, these last 2 Saturdays, and you realize how winnable it was and what a different trajectory and how different the conversation is. And one of them, you were a overthrow away from tying it in the fourth quarter. The other one, you were a missed field goal away from leading in the fourth quarter. I'm not saying they win those, but I'm saying that's how close and competitive those games were, just in spite of everything else, how attainable they were, and you can't attain them. Mm-hmm. You don't make the right call. You don't make the right block, the right throw, the right play, and you don't attain them, and they're losses. It doesn't matter how close or that they were competitive because you lost, and you've lost 3 games now, in 7. And you've really lost, 3 of the 5 that matter at all. We know New Mexico and ULM don't matter in the grand. They better not matter. And it's just what a difference not being able to, get over that hump and win makes these last 2 in the last 8 days, because it feels like it changed everything. And I'm not saying they win those and they go on and all that, all this glory in front, because there's still all these same issues in terms of Saturdays on the football field. But if you just have won those, it gave you hope. It gave you a real chance. It made you a contender in the league, but you didn't. And now we're sitting here going, you're looking at this schedule and you're going into a bye week going, how do you feel about 7-5? And, oh, by the way, you got to beat Rattler and Will Rogers probably at home to get there. Now, I'm not saying, hey, it's Ole Miss, but they're bad matchups for Ole Miss and LSU. And they're a much worse matchup now because this is the other thing that to me changed Saturday is Bama, you could sit there and go, damn, they had a really good first half of offense against Bama, and then they got eaten up in the second. They had a damn good first half against Arkansas, and you could see they just screwed up a little bit in the second half, but they're playing good halves. Saturday, they had a good drive.
First shot.
And they look great. How do you go out and drive down the field, shut up 100,000, and look terrific doing it and not cross the goal line again the rest of the game? And so, whereas you were putting halves together, and the question was, they're close to playing a full, we can name the plays against Bama. You can name the plays against Arkansas where you go, this should have been a really nice game. Saturday, you're going one way or the other. So you went half, nothing. Instead of half, oh, there's four full quarters. You went half,
drive,
nothing. 7 points, 4 minutes into that game, and 13 for the game. So many chances, so many missed opportunities, and for so many different reasons. That's where it's hard for me, because it's like certain things that are called in certain moments. It's the quarterback making mistakes, not playing like a veteran. Sometimes it's the quarterback not looking like a veteran because the offensive line's getting just humiliated. Or it's a drop pass at a key moment, or it's, and then the only thing I'll say, and then special teams, terrible. They killed you against Miami. They, massive, one that cost you against Bama with the blocked field goal. And then Saturday, it was the one punt followed by a great Tennessee punt, followed by, a awful 3-and-out, followed by a
punt return.
And it was a punt return, and it was also a result of another poor punt return. And then you went down and missed another field goal when you could have taken, in spite of all that, if you can consistently make 50-yarders, you make that kick and you're up 16-14 in the fourth quarter. People start getting nervous. People start pressing. Who knows? Mm-hmm. but you're unable to put that pressure on them. The only thing they've got going right now, and you got to give that defense credit. And they they almost did more of a bend but don't break this week than in the past, but because Tennessee ran all over them, and it was what we were concerned with. And guess what? That got to worry the hell out of you against Ole Miss as well, because they're going to spread you out and they're going to run tempo and they're going to get you in some bad personnel. They're going to run at you with Judkins and Dart just like they did last year. But your defense came up big several times in that football game, right up till the very end when Tennessee runs it back to the 6 and you keep them out of the end zone. And earlier in that corner when DeBerry makes an end zone interception to not give them points. They bent, they didn't break. They gave up one touchdown to Tennessee on the road. That defense is really good. They're really good. They play hard. They get after it. The defense has not been the issue. They were shorthanded this week. Bryce Anderson out. So, and that caused a massive shakeup. Then you lose Edgerrin Cooper at halftime. So you're without 2 of your 3 in the back 7 easily, with Chappelle probably being the third guy. Easily, you're without 2 of your best 3 back there. And the way a lot of guys stepped up. Offensively, I see people stepping back.
Yep.
And it's not one spot. Like I said, it's across the board. And I don't know what kind of conversations they need to have. I don't have the answers of what they need to figure out across the street right now. But it's a bottom line thing, man. You either win or you lose. And there are a lot of reasons to break down when you do lose. And you can either lose and think, hey, we're close, or we're getting closer, or you're far, or you're getting farther.
That's what it feels like.
And it feels like they were making progress, and now they're regressing. And these last 3 second halves to score produce a field goal each of the last 3 games in the second half. I mean, this offense has looked pretty good at times this year, but I'm not sure, with that lack of production in the second half of these games, it's hard to sit here and go, where's the progress? And I know they lost a potential star at quarterback, and that is a big deal. And if somebody says it's not, they're just wanting to just be like, hey, this is that was a big deal. You go take away a starting quarterback off almost any team in this league and watch the drop off. I don't know who Tennessee's backup would have been a true freshman.
Nico.
Yeah. We saw what Alabama's offense looked like without Milroe. Take KJ Jefferson away from Arkansas. Like, almost take Jaden Daniels away. He's probably the only one with Nussmeier. But it doesn't – that should not have resulted in the offense taking that big a step back.
And it goes back to what you said a moment ago.
Max Johnson should be too good for it to drop off that much.
And it goes back to what you said. It's a results business. So we've had quarterbacks down the last 3 years in a row. Eventually, sorry, your computer doesn't work anymore, figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And look, that I think for A&M too, though, everything we want to break down offensively, you've got to go look at this offensive line these last couple of years, and you've got to look and say, okay, what is going on at that position? There's too much talent for those guys to. It's like, and maybe they'll say this, I don't know. It's like every play, somebody's getting badly, badly beaten. They're either getting shoved back into a quarterback, they're tripping the quarterback on a crucial fourth down call. It's just, or they're just whiffing on a block and having to tackle the guy as he runs by. They're missing a blitz, and you're getting a quarterback hurt a few weeks ago. Every play, it's something. So who does that fall on? And so Adazio's he's got to be held accountable to where you have to go in there this week and say, and I'm sure they've said it previous, but this isn't good enough. It's not. Like, you've got to fix this. You don't have the option. Your job, you have to fix this. And there's too much talent up there. And I think more than anything else, that it's not just the O-line, it's blocking. Because other guys are a part of that too. Yeah. Running backs, tight ends, it's blocking. It's 2 years of being just heinously bad at times, and more, way too often. And I'll be the first one to say, and I said it the other day, and I mean it now. I'm watching a season, right? And I'm still watching a season. You know, I want to see how it plays out. But they did a better job against a good Auburn defense. Not great. LSU proved that, sorry, but a good job. Then they did an all right job as well against Arkansas. They did a fine job in those two games, blocking. It was fine. I wouldn't say like, hey, they were out there dominating.
It felt fine.
They were better than the D-line. They won those battles, I think. The last 2 weeks, it's been as big a beatdown. And I know, like, hey, those might be the two best D-lines you face this year. But still, like, those are two one-sided battles. You don't have you have Basantis is baptism by fire. And Fathery's, his injury, that sucks, bad. But Basantis might have started anyway. That would have been because Deuce was hurt coming into fall. But even had he been on schedule, that would have been a battle. But you would have at least chosen that and say, hey, this is what we want. But there's too much experience outside of Basantis for this group to be losing collectively the way they are. And go ahead. Remind me to point something out, though, because I'm going to explain something that was a big talking point while I was at the game yesterday.
But it's that plus a quarterback who processes information a little slower than we would like. There are times that the blocking was good enough.
Yeah.
And then there's the other issues.
Yeah, for sure.
Falling on people's feet and, bad snap. It's just
the bad snaps, that's another one. Like, this is just, it was not a comedy because there's nothing funny about it. It was just so many errors. And yeah, Bryce is a junior, third-year starter, and you're on the road essentially rolling snaps back there. And it wasn't two or three. There was several of them. And that kills your quarterback. And there are plays when no one gets blocked, and a quarterback can do nothing about that. Max Johnson, Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes, you cannot do anything about guys coming in. So, but then there are other plays where you're like, how'd you take a sack there as a veteran? Like, you've got to get rid of that football. Like the play, he got face masked, but it's like a 15-yard sack back to your 1 yard line on first down, I believe, coming after an interception, if I'm not mistaken. You're down 1 point in the fourth quarter with a chance to go down and win the game, and you take a 15-yard sack on first down. No way. And the face mask bailed it out, but still, you get sacked down to the 1. That might be game over right there because you're like 2nd and 25 from the 1, and they're probably getting it back with a chance for more points. But I don't know if it's slow to process or just like there's a reluctance to get rid of the football there. And and we said it when Connor got hurt. I said that is the one. He's going to be a better straight ahead when he just decides to just go. He can chew up 20 on a defense like that. Even that, I think he's become a little more reluctant on. Mm-hmm. Had a nice touchdown run early. But the big issue was, I thought, I said it, when he's going to take longer to get rid of the football. He's going to need better protection. So that was the concern. We said that out loud. We said that after the Auburn game. That's the concern. Is he going to have protection enough? Because he'll need it more so than Connor. Because they're different types of quarterbacks, and that's I think the big difference. So the big topic, Nuño, when I went up to sit in the stands for a little bit, wanted to experience some of that atmosphere, and that fourth down, or not the fourth down, it's funny how much of this stuff came back around just a week later, right? You know, like you had some special teams things that cost you dearly. You had a 4th and 1. This time you went for it, and it was a spectacular fail there. I'm thinking of plays. I'm thinking of a 3rd and 2 where Max underthrows a wide open. That's a great call. It's wide open. Le'Veon Moss underthrows it at his feet there, and
Le'Veon had a drop at the end of the game.
Le'Veon had a drop. Yeah, a nice play call again on that screen. Yeah. Could have got you going on that drive there. It's just like I see guys, and I saw it last year, and it just makes me go, why does it look like everything's so hard for these guys in maroon?
They're underwater.
White? And it's like, and then you see things like the Tennessee, you do make a pass break up, and it flies up in the air, and the guy catches it on the run for a 3rd down conversion. But it's got to be frustrating. I get it. But you saw things come, just like last week, though, against Bama, towards the end of the half. It was the exact same thing. You've got a lead.
You're talking about
And you don't take the timeout when you look like you're going to stop them. And by the way, you want to talk about a massive play. How about that fumble? The Aggies force a fumble. They don't recover. It's a great play by the defense. They don't recover fumble. You think, okay, still got the stop. Then you are going for points.
Yep.
And I don't hate the call, Nuño, the decision to say
to kneel it.
To kneel it, but also to just not stop the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there was, I think, a little more time yesterday than there was Bama. But here's why I understand it, but it's also why I have the problem with it. I watch this offense the last couple weeks. I watch the struggles in blocking, and I watch that you've got a quarterback that will hold on and take some sacks. That, with a lead and getting the ball to start the 3rd quarter on the road, 100,000 people, that would make me very nervous as a head coach. The odds of that going badly, whether that was a sack or a fumble or a safety or a bad turnover or a simple 3-and-out. Tennessee had 2 timeouts. 3-and-out punt, and they're getting the ball. If you really know your football team, that's not the best formula for 6. Somebody told me, well, throw it up to Evan and Noah. I get it. Like, yeah, if they're going to give you a one-on-one look and there's a deep shot there, fine. But you still might get sacked when this guy – I still think the odds were better to avoid disaster than to try to maybe get 3 points with – and you have your punter hasn't been good.
Yep.
So if you do have to punt, they're getting great field. Your kicker hasn't been good outside of 45 yards, so you have to get that much closer. So if you really knew your team, I understand that. Where I have the problem is, and I don't think it changes that much with Connor, by the way, in terms of the decision because of the line. But would LSU do that? Would Texas do that? Would Ole Miss do that? My point is, if you had an offense I wish we knew that the offense was going to be explosive and capable of chewing up 60 yards in a minute and a half to 2 minutes. Then I would say go. Offensive line. But that's the problem is we're in like, I say we're in year 6, but we're in like the 3rd year in a row of a really ineffective offense. Really ineffective offense. So there's my frustration with it. It wasn't the call. It was just the fact that
if you call the timeout earlier, I can get down with it. But I have no faith that they can get it done. So I'd rather go into halftime because what I brought up on the postgame.
And that's my issue is the fact that, I would love to have an offense. You go, give us the ball at the 10.
But they don't.
We'll go down there.
I brought up on the postgame wrap, they tried that against Bama last year, and it ended bad for them. They threw an interception. Bama scores a field goal.
Saw it today. You watched the Browns and the Niners, and they had a backup quarterback in, and he got intentional. Luckily, the punter boomed like a 70-yard punt to bail him out, but as soon as that grounding went, it's like 49ers said, timeout, we're going to make you punt. I get it, but the offense, I mean, it is the story. You went out and you had a coordinator hire to make. You hired Bobby Petrino, and it's fascinating how good they looked in game 1. Even in game 2, they moved it at times in that second half. There was so much excitement over Connor. Max gets hurt. I mean, Connor gets hurt. I get it. But There's no way that collection of talent on the O-line that they were pretty excited about the progress. And we saw a little bit of it.
We did. They're not the same team right now, though.
They're not. They're mentally they're not. And I think everyone's pressing, and it's hard. It's hard to pull out of that. Maybe the bye comes at the perfect time. Maybe the bye couldn't come at a worse time. A lot of guys might need to just go out there and play football, but I'm sure probably a good time for the bye. A terrible time for us and the fans because you're just like, man, like just give us something to. There's real concern though, big picture. You know, we all know the elephant in the room is with everything that's going to be written and said out, and it's going to generally be fair and accurate. You know, I come in here and I think people will get pissed when I'm not yelling and screaming, but I mean, trust me, I'm freaking, you know, whether it's pissed off, disappointed, at times yesterday disgusted with it, but I'm looking at it kind of surgically and just kind of going, okay, you got to let this thing play out. And the elephant in the room is like, how do you dig out of this if you're Jimbo and A&M? And Saturday was a great opportunity to just not only dig out of it, but just to be 3-1 in the freaking league going into a bye.
Yeah.
It changed the whole conversation, but you scored 3 points and a half. When you spent the whole offseason trying to revamp an offense, and it's the third week in a row that you produced a field goal in the second half, it's also the second week in a row and the third time this year that special teams have been an absolute disaster for you. So that's the frustration, I think, with everybody. And it's another road loss, and it's the same formula on the road. You know, it just that to me is where it's hard to sit there and picture like what's the way out? What's the way out? Because Jimbo's got to find a way out of it, and it's almost like you can't lose another game this year. I mean, 8-4 is not going to make anybody happy. It's better than, I guess, the alternative as you sit here today. But really, anything short of winning out, and some people will still be, it'd be a weird path to get there, and it sounds silly to even say it. But that's kind of almost what you have to do because there's recruiting momentum to be, you could lose a lot of it here. You know, the sharks are circling. There's blood in the water. If you start seeing recruiting attrition, if you start, seeing, then the next round of it is portal attrition. Because that's the whole thing is you sign that 2022 class and you've got a top 3 class committed right now. Like that's, and now people are less hopeful because we're in year 2. See, to me, to hold them underperforming with a bunch of true freshmen last year, that was no kind of indictment on that 22 class. In fact, there was actually a lot to be excited about. Now, if they're in year 2 and you risk losing more of that group and you risk, so they've got to right the ship in a hurry. And, it's hard to sit here today and be, it's like everyone else, to be at all optimistic about it. Because a week ago, they were that close to beating Alabama. A week later, Arkansas was that close to beating them, and you went and lost to Tennessee.
Well, first off, here I found that note that I wanted to bring up to you earlier. My thing is, I have lost any optimism, and I hate that feeling.
Yeah,
I hate it. Right? And here's why. Since I've been here, since I've gotten here, in one-score games, the Aggies since 2021 are 3-9.
Since 21. One of them was against Colorado. Who finished 2-10.
Miami last year,
who was 5-7.
There must have been another one.
Arkansas?
And Bama.
Wait, in how many score games?
3-9 in one-score games.
So the 3, no, they lost to Bama. So the 3 were
21. They beat Bama 41-38.
Oh, so was Arkansas not a one? Arkansas was a one-score game last year too, wasn't it? Yeah.
You're right. It was. So it must be 4. It must be 4.
But point being, it's a 5-7 Miami. It's a 2-10 Colorado, and it was an Arkansas team that I think was if they were 7-5.
Right.
But Bama is the outlier, obviously. So yeah, you're losing close games. You're losing every game on the road. I mean, that to me, nobody's losing road games at that rate. I mean, I know it's harder to win on the road, and certainly if these same two teams had played at Kyle Field yesterday, probably A&M wins. But that's not how your schedule lays out.
Right.
You're on the road. At some point, they've got to win. They're going to have a hard time winning a road game at all was it the second year in a row? Yeah. Because you got to go 2 Ole Miss and 2 LSU. Yeah. I mean, that's probably two of the top 4 teams in this conference now this year. If they don't pull a pretty significant upset in one of those 2 games, you go 2 years in a row without winning a road game, true road game. Arkansas every other year is a road, but you know what I'm saying. And that to me, that eats at me. And it's not, those are the things that frustrate me, are when, the stuff is not getting corrected or fixed. Again, I'm not saying teams are going to go lose in Knoxville. When you watch that game play out, though, you know how attainable it was. Same with Bama. I know, it's Bama, but you see how attainable it was.
It's the if game that we've been playing for so long. If we had an offense, if we could block, if we could, well.
But I think it's even more so when you watch the game and you watch,
the flow.
Like, it's not like, oh, we got blown out because our offense only scored 3 points. No, you didn't get blown out still. Even with that, it was winnable. Same thing with Bama. Well, we did this, and it was winnable. That was the whole conversation Friday. They don't have to be perfect to beat Tennessee on the road.
Yep.
They don't have to be perfect. They're going to make mistakes. They're a flawed team. They're playing with a backup QB. Their O-line can be had, for long periods of time, several. There's a lot of the secondary shaky. They've got an injury back there. There's all these things, and they could still go out there and make some of the mistakes and win. Same thing against Bama, but they're making them in such a volume. It's crazy. And this team also, David, how many times have we watched them give up points when the defense isn't even on the field?
Well, I had that note yesterday.
That's just alarming.
4 straight games, a non-offensive score.
Auburn runs it back. Arkansas with the pick 6.
Bama safety. And then you go, Tennessee punt return. So that's 3 touchdowns and a safety in 4 SEC games. Then you go, missed field goal. And I think there was a couple. I think you missed one against Arkansas too. Couple missed field goals. Block field goal. Now you go back to Miami. Kickoff return for a score. It's pretty wild how many points are being either scored by the other team or left on the field when your offense isn't out there. And this team is not, we've always said their margin for error is not going to be a lot. Even when we were trying to debate them in the SEC race before it even started, they're not Bama or Georgia where they can bring their B game and win. Now it just keeps getting... Let me read you this note. This is another one to make you depressed. In the last 3 games, A&M's offense has scored 9 points and committed 6 turnovers in those 21 second-half drives. Those 9 points, 7 punts, 6 turnovers, 3 made field goals, 3 missed field goals, 1 safety, 1 turnover on downs. Also, A&M's offense in the first half scored 44 points, second half 9.
Send me all that. I need to look at that. That you just made I couldn't even. You were saying it, and then I just drifted off into space
because it hurts.
It sent me into I just tuned it out. It was like PTSD or something. I had to just block it out there. So I didn't hear anything you just said. It just sounded like a lot of numbers, and all I kept drifting back to was 3, 3, 3.
Well, because 44 to 9 is the number to think about, though. 44 points in the first half, 9 in the second half.
It's crazy. And I mean, again, you had you brought it in. I know, the first thing someone will say, well, you lose your starting quarterback, who's a rising star in the conference. Tebow sat there with me and said he thought he was playing as well as any quarterback in the league prior to that Auburn game the night before. And it's like, but we all know that with 14 back there and the talent they have, this offense should be producing. Even if you're just going to say 44 points, just duplicate that. Yeah. And this is a pretty good offense. It's pretty good, but they're not, because I don't know if it's halftime adjustments. I don't know if teams are just saying, hey, these guys can't block us. We need to just dial up the aggression and come after them more because we're just winning at the point of attack. I don't know what it is. I honestly don't care. I just care about what the result is and how teams are having their way with A&M in the second half. Look, Dave, in wrapping this up, because we're going to talk tomorrow, right?
Yep.
We'll talk about a lot. We'll take you guys text in, call in. We'll take questions. Like you said, this is not fun. Nobody that went to the game had fun. Nobody that flew back with that team had fun. Obviously, if any of them did, they don't even need to be there. And I know that's not the case. I saw a lot of dejected young men walking off that field yesterday. I saw a lot of coaches that didn't have the answers, and you know how bad they want to, but they're paid to figure it out. They are hired to figure it out. They are signed as recruits to figure it out. The players, they share a responsibility in figuring that out and not making mistakes. Like, it's everybody. It's every single person. We know how it goes. It starts top, it goes down. It's how every organization is. But it is they are called sports teams for a reason. They're called coaching staffs for a reason. Jimbo's a part of that staff. He hired that staff. They recruited these players. Everybody shares a responsibility in it. And the responsibility now is to go and figure it out. And I hope they do. I really do. As these losses mount, it's one thing like the questions from the media, and it all plays in because it just starts to create this spiral, and we've seen it too many times around here. And the media plays into it, and they're doing a job, and some of them, are going to, they smell blood in the water, like I said earlier, they're going to come after it, and it starts the perception thing. And it's not necessarily what we think or what the Aggies, but it's then, how does that affect the recruiting, and how does that affect your locker room? So they've got to figure it out. You got a bye week. You got a team coming in that unfortunately can beat you. We know, because Rattler in South Carolina on a good night can score. They did it last night and they lost. Florida scored 41, whatever it was. So it's the same Florida team that beat Tennessee. So let's not act like they're that bad just because Kentucky ran on them. South Carolina can come in here and beat you and make this thing go really, really bad really quickly. Not that it hasn't already. But the reality is you have the bye week and you have a team coming in that you still should beat and you'll be favored to beat on your home field. That's where you just have to start. That doesn't solve anything. That doesn't change the outlook. But that is, right now, it's non-negotiable. You have to do it. And then just go from there. But they've got to fix it. That's what they're all here for. Jimbo, his staff, the players, everything. Like they've got to. It's hard, but it's a tough ask, man. And you're going to Oxford, Mississippi in a couple weeks, and you got a guy that's going to take more pleasure than anyone in this sport if he can, if he can show you up and show your players up and show your head coach up and show. He's waiting for that chance, and so they better turn it around in a hurry because it's getting away from them. It's gotten away from them. They're limping into this bye. They need to regroup and figure out who wants to perform, who wants to play, and then the coaches need to figure out what do we have to do to fix it. It's not what can we do, it's what do we have to do to fix it.
We got to do it. All right, Billy, let's wrap this up. If they don't fix it, then what?
David, I said it earlier, elephant in the room. If what happens in the portal, what happens in recruiting, how bloodthirsty does the media get? Like I said, it's like sharks circling, portal poachers, all the national media. The whole thing gets louder and louder and louder, and it is what we said earlier. It's a $75 million question. People have been asking me this all day. I fully believe Jimbo will be back next year. I think he'll have to. This is not saying something that nobody knows. It's not saying something that guarantees it be fixed. But I think he'll have to make more off-season changes. Probably gets harder and harder to make hires the longer it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think he'll be back regardless in 24. And then you look at his schedule with Notre Dame and LSU and Texas coming in here, and you better field a really good team next year. They need to field a really good team this year.
Now.
Period. Like, again, I want to see it work. I was really discouraged walking out of there Saturday, way more so than the week before.
I agree.
The week before, to me, it was like you'd won 2 SEC games. You barely lost to Bama, and we knew it was a winnable Bama. It was very frustrating.
Yeah.
Very frustrating. But this one, I saw a team that just found, way too many ways to lose a winnable game. And when you have a chance to win one and that had the potential to change a lot, and you didn't take advantage of it. In fact, they fell on their face in that one down the stretch. It's not, to say it's not encouraging, obviously, is a massive understatement.
No.
It's frustrating, and they got to figure it out now.
Yeah.
They needed to figure it out, after Bama. Like at least after Miami, I felt like they really were getting better as a football team. You could watch them play, and even through the mistakes, you could see they're getting better as a football team. I think even up till, through last Saturday. But this one, it looked like they took a big step back, and there's no more room for steps back, only forward. So we'll see how they handle it. They need to get healthy. And I think they need to get physically and mentally healthy, and Jimbo and company really need to go to the drawing board, and they've got to go out and out-coach opponents the rest of the way. And that includes guys like Kiffin and Kelly and Beamer and whoever, but they've got to go out and out-coach opponents. And part of that coaching thing, too, is to get the kids right up here and believe in, because I saw a team yesterday that was really competing and fighting. I mean, you look at those guys, like the defenders are making plays right up to the end. Max Johnson looked as frustrated as anyone. His receivers looked. I saw a lot of kids that were, and that's what worries you when they lay it all out. And then so they've got to get them right up there too, because I saw yesterday was the first day where I saw just an extended stretch of just real frustration of kind of like we're banging our head against a wall here. So we'll see. Time will tell.
Thank you all.
Time is now.
Call the show tomorrow or text the show. We'll take some questions. Thanks for watching the Loochador Podcast, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors.